Have you ever looked into someone's eyes and felt a chill run through your spine, without knowing why? No threat was spoken, no harm was done, yet something inside you whispered, "This person is dangerous." Evil doesn't always appear as a villain in the shadows. Sometimes it hides behind the smile of a neighbor, the handshake of a leader, or even the comforting presence of a friend. The most unsettling truth: your heart often recognizes evil long before your mind can explain it. You don't need proof, you don't need words, you just feel it. Evil, no matter how much we try to define or analyze it, remains vague, slippery, and impossible to pin down with one simple description. The Stoics encouraged us to understand human nature and to meet life's challenges with calmness and reason. But when it comes to evil, its recognition doesn't come from philosophy, it comes from instinct. A malicious person doesn't need to reveal their intentions openly. The cruelty within them eventually surfaces in ways you cannot ignore. When you encounter such a person, your heart reacts immediately, sensing what your mind cannot yet explain. Questions and justifications fade into silence, because deep down you already know the truth. What makes this even more terrifying is where evil chooses to hide. We imagine it lurking in dark alleys or hidden in unfamiliar corners. But reality cuts deeper. Evil often exists in places we thought were safe. In schools where innocence should be protected, in churches and houses of worship where souls should find peace, and sometimes even in the homes of people we trusted most. It wears the disguise of normality, a friendly smile, a calm voice, a mask of kindness, making detection nearly impossible until it's too late. Trying to capture evil with words like immoral or cruel is never enough, because those terms shift from one person's perspective to another. But when evil realizes you've seen through its disguise, it reacts in predictable ways. The mask begins to slip and the hidden darkness can no longer remain still. That is what we'll uncover in this video. 7 signs that reveal how evil individuals behave once they know you've discovered the truth about them. Through the wisdom of Stoic philosophy, we will analyze each sign, not to create fear, but to prepare you to face such people with calmness, clarity, and unwavering resolve. Sign number 1. They come back with a new reputation. Think about this. Have you ever seen someone so manipulative, so deceptive, that you wondered if they were guided by demons? The reality is far worse. Human beings themselves are capable of astonishing levels of malice. They are experts at hiding their darkness. Sometimes it can take years before you see the cruelty they've been concealing. But don't blame yourself. Evil people are master manipulators. They take what they want, exploit whoever they can, and leave behind confusion and brokenness. They aren't just bad people. They are living embodiments of deceit and calculated cruelty. And here's their first move when exposed. They don't admit the truth. They don't take responsibility. Instead, they go to work rebuilding their image. They understand that reputation is power. If they can reshape how others see them, they can continue to manipulate and control. So they create a new version of themselves, a false identity carefully crafted to make you doubt what you know and to convince everyone else that you are the one mistaken. Evil thrives on perception. It hides behind masks. And once you've seen the real face beneath the disguise, the battle becomes one of truth versus illusion. Your clarity against their manipulation. Tying back to what we just uncovered, once the mask slips, their next move is almost always to rewrite the story. Imagine someone in your community already carrying a bad reputation, someone who's hurt people and left quiet scars. Instead of avoiding you when they realize you've seen through them, they'll step forward with a completely new narrative, an alibi so polished it looks rehearsed. They will deny the past you know, shift blame onto circumstances or other people, and weave complications into the tale until it reads like a carefully staged play, where they perform the role of the misunderstood soul who deserves sympathy and forgiveness. Marcus Aurelius warned that the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts, and this is precisely what they are attempting to do. They want to dye your mind with a new color so your view of them changes. If they can alter how you think about them, they can control how you treat them and, crucially, how you interpret the truth. This attempt to salvage reputation is rarely accidental. It is a tactical maneuver to evade responsibility and continue damaging influence under a different name. You see it at work and in life. A colleague known for backstabbing suddenly becomes the person who grew up and learned important lessons, or a neighbor who once spread rumors now claims they were misunderstood and fighting inner battles. All of this is a thin veil, a deliberately crafted fiction meant to seed doubt. When they present a new version of themselves, what they want most is for you to question your first impression, to feel foolish for having believed the evidence you once held. That doubt is the trap. Gradually, your initial confidence erodes. The more they repeat the story, the more other people accept it, and before long, you may find yourself apologizing in your head for having judged them. This confusion doesn't just cloud your perception, it weakens your ability to resist and to judge clearly. Stoic philosophy counsels us to clear our minds, to cling to truth rather than to emotion, and to preserve inner calm in the face of such theatrical deception. Remember, a new reputation is not proof of real change. It is often the first act of a longer manipulation. Beyond the staged stories, there are subtler signals, those inexplicable low, uneasy feelings you get when you're near them. Sometimes simply being around the person sets your nerves on edge. A prickle behind the neck, a sudden tightening in the chest, a vague sense that something is off, though you cannot name what. These are what the original text calls strange vibrations, the emotional frequencies we pick up from other people. Everything around us operates as energy, including our bodies. And when we interact with others, we unconsciously absorb tiny currents of emotion and intent. Call it intuition, call it sensitivity, or call it subtle social feedback. Whatever label you choose, these vibrations are real, and they affect perception. Malicious individuals often emit an energy that feels wrong. Impatience disguised as calm, a forced smile that resonates as coldness, or a charm that leaves you feeling hollow afterward. Although the language of vibrations may sound vague to some, there is mounting scientific recognition that nonverbal cues, tone, microexpressions, posture, shape how we assess others, and those cues can make the difference between safety and harm. When a person's energy consistently makes you uncomfortable, do not dismiss it as mere hypersensitivity. Treat it as a clue. In short, sign number 2 is the presence of strange vibrations, emotional, energetic, and sensory signals that reveal malicious intent before words do. Stay attentive to these signals, hold fast to sober judgment, and let stoic steadiness guide you, because in the battlefield between truth and illusion, your calm clarity is the most reliable defense. Tying back to what we just covered, after they rewrite their story, their next move is to unsettle you with behavior that feels wrong on a gut level. When malicious people realize you've seen through them, it isn't only their outward acts that change, it's the invisible atmosphere they create. Suddenly the room seems colder, your skin prickles more easily, and that vague unease you felt before sharpens into something you can't ignore. This is not mere imagination. It's the presence of strange vibrations, an energy, a tone, a cadence in their behavior that no longer rings true. Once exposed, these people often begin to act in ways that are oddly calculated. Their mannerisms feel engineered, their smiles feel thin. If they hold any kind of power at work, in a social circle, or inside a family, they will often escalate. They try to make life difficult for you. They may cross boundaries they previously respected, prying into your personal affairs, asking invasive questions, or monitoring your actions with suspicious intensity. Privacy becomes a battlefield. Little by little, they create an environment that is meant to intimidate, confuse, and control. It's as if they are trying to crowbar you into a corner until your confidence falters. This behavior usually springs from one simple fear: losing control. When someone's influence is threatened, they will go to great lengths to reassert dominance, regardless of the harm it causes. From a Stoic perspective, this fits a familiar pattern. The Stoics teach that our disturbance comes not from events themselves, but from how we interpret them. As Epictetus reminded us, people are not disturbed by things, but by the view they take of them. In other words, the strange vibrations you pick up are signals, not commands. They are data about the other person's state of mind, not a verdict on your worth or stability. That distinction matters. If you allow those vibrations to invade your thoughts unchecked, they will corrode your calm. If instead you notice them, name them, and treat them as information, you disarm their power. The Stoic response is not to meet manipulation with equal manipulation. It is to remain composed, clear-eyed, and deliberate. Use your awareness of the strange energy as a tool to map the situation, not as fuel for panic. Ask, what is this person trying to regain? What boundaries are they testing? How can I respond without being dragged into drama? Practical signs to watch for include excessive questioning about your private life, sudden attempts to monitor your whereabouts or work, and subtle moves designed to isolate you from allies, gossip, hints, or insinuations that cast doubt on your credibility. None of this is accidental. These tactics are defensive. They are the actions of someone who feels exposed and panics. Yet while their tactics may be aggressive, your power lies in restraint. You always have the choice of how to perceive and respond. Calmness and wisdom are the most effective defenses. Keep your mind still, record facts dispassionately, and refuse to engage on their emotional terms. Consider this. Do those strange feelings actually change your reality, or are they simply a test of your mental resilience? Malicious people will throw every unsavory tactic at you to see whether you crack. They hope you will react with fear, anger, or confusion, because those reactions make you easier to manipulate. But if you meet their moves with measured composure, you rob them of victory. Everything external becomes material to strengthen your inner life. Every attempted provocation is an opportunity to cultivate steadiness. So when the vibrations come, when the smile goes cold, when the questions grow sharp, when someone crosses into your privacy, do not immediately assume you're overreacting. Listen to the signal, but do not let it dictate your judgment. Name the emotion, hold to the facts, and preserve your inner quiet. That is not weakness, it is strategy. It is how you stay unshaken in the face of someone determined to unsettle you. Have you ever been in a situation where someone's presence made you feel this way? Like the air itself had shifted. How did you respond, and what did it teach you about staying calm under pressure? After strange vibrations come the next tactic, lies built upon lies. When evil individuals realize the truth about them has been exposed, they do not step back or confess. Instead, they double down. A lie is like a web. Each new thread makes the structure more complex until even the one weaving it becomes trapped. Wicked people do not try to untangle the web. They spin more, adding deception upon deception, hoping to bury the truth beneath endless layers. Epictetus once said, "It is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows." When someone defends their lies, they blind themselves, locking into a cycle of ignorance where no light of truth can enter. Lying is common in daily life. Studies show the average person lies once or twice a day. Many of these are small, so-called white lies, told to protect feelings or avoid unnecessary conflict. You may tell a friend their hairstyle looks good even when you think otherwise. Research shows that nearly 60% of adults admit to lying at least once a day, sometimes up to 5 times. Men, studies suggest, tend to lie more often than women. But not all lies are the same. The wicked lie differently. Their lies are not to protect others but to shield themselves. They lie to protect their image, to cover their wrongdoing, to avoid responsibility. And when one lie is uncovered, they do not stop. They deny it, invent another, and then another. Each new fabrication is an attempt to preserve what they know cannot be preserved. This is more than dishonesty, it is weakness. Unable to face truth, they cling to deception. Instead of admitting mistakes and making amends, they betray others and themselves. They know each new lie only distances them further from reality, yet they continue sinking deeper into the pit they created. The cost is trust. Once broken, trust is hard to rebuild. Whether the lie is small or large, when someone hides the truth, something fragile is lost. For the wicked, this breaking of trust is no accident but a method, a strategy to protect their interests at any cost. Their lies are not slips, they are tools of manipulation. Even when caught, they keep lying, convinced that more stories will save them. But each new word is just another thread in the trap of their own making. They cannot escape until they face the truth, something they dare not do. After lies and broken trust, another revealing sign quickly follows. The wicked only come around when there is something to gain. To them, truth is never sacred. It is a tool bent and twisted to fit their needs, and once trust is destroyed, it rarely returns in the same form. This brings us to the next sign. Sign number 4. They only come around when it benefits them. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." His words remind us that actions speak louder than promises, and nowhere is this clearer than in dealing with toxic people. When their true nature is exposed, one of the most obvious behaviors you will notice is opportunism. They no longer act as sincere friends, companions, or colleagues. Instead, they appear only when they need something and vanish when you are in need. Before you uncover their darkness, they may seem reliable, always present, always supportive. But once their mask slips, everything changes. Their care was never genuine, it was calculation. They show up for gain, not for love. This behavior mirrors that of opportunists in every sphere of life. Such people never truly invest in relationships. They are always calculating, always asking silently, "What can I get from you?" And when there is nothing left to take, they disappear without hesitation. Your struggles, your pain, your needs mean nothing to them unless those can serve their advantage. It is common for these individuals to reappear once you've already endured hardship and pulled yourself back together. When you are strong again, they return with apologies, excuses, or sweet words, hoping your kindness will allow them back in. They count on your forgiving nature, on your ability to forget, so they can resume as if nothing had ever happened. If you refuse, they retreat into silence until the next time they need something. The cycle repeats, and their presence becomes a transaction, never a true relationship. History and philosophy give us lessons here as well. The Stoic teacher Epictetus once dealt with a student who seemed loyal and devoted, always seeking guidance whenever he needed help with personal matters. Epictetus gave advice freely, offering patience and wisdom. But when the teacher himself faced difficulty, wanting the student to walk alongside him through a practical trial, that student vanished. Only after Epictetus had endured and overcome the challenge alone did the student reappear, armed with excuses, pretending nothing had happened. With his calm wisdom, Epictetus saw through the act. He understood that this student never cared for him, only for what he could take. And because he recognized the truth, Epictetus did not let false loyalty disturb his peace. From this story, we learn an essential lesson. We must recognize when our kindness is being exploited. Toxic individuals will always return when they see an opening to benefit from us. But their patterns reveal them. Protecting your heart, your time, and your peace means learning to see through the disguise of convenience. True care is present in both joy and hardship. False care vanishes the moment there is no profit left. They have lost any respect for truth. To them, truth is malleable, a tool to be bent until it serves their purpose. Once someone is accustomed to shaping reality for personal gain, they cannot appreciate honesty. That makes them dangerously untrustworthy, and when trust is broken, restoration becomes nearly impossible. Sign number 4. They only come around when there is something to gain. Marcus Aurelius urged us to stop arguing about what a good man should be and simply be one. His teaching reminds us that genuine goodness is shown through consistent action, not convenient words. With toxic people, this contrast becomes painfully clear. Before you saw their true face, they might have seemed loyal and present, always there when it suited them. But once exposed, their pattern shows itself. They appear when they can profit and vanish when you most need them. These people rarely invest in relationships for their own sake. They calculate, they weigh benefits and costs, and when the ledger no longer favors them, they disappear without remorse. After you face hardship and begin to recover, they may resurface, apologies ready, excuses polished, hope placed on your tendency to forgive. They expect you to accept them back, to reset the clock as if nothing ever happened. If you refuse, they stay away until the next opportunity to take. This isn't care, it's convenience. The Stoic teacher Epictetus tells a revealing story. One pupil sought his counsel ardently whenever he needed help, appearing devoted and attentive. But when Epictetus himself needed a companion through a difficult trial, the student vanished, only to return after the danger had passed, offering flimsy excuses as though nothing had occurred. Epictetus, with steady wisdom, recognized the truth. The The student's loyalty was conditional, motivated by personal gain rather than genuine regard. From that lesson we learned to detect exploitation and to guard our peace. When someone's presence is transactional, let their absence be your release. True friends remain through both ease and trial. Opportunists show up only for the benefit. Sign number 5. They try to make you feel stupid. One of the cruelest and most effective tactics of malicious people, narcissists among them, is humiliation disguised as advice or honest feedback. Imagine you confide in someone seeking understanding and they respond with a sneer, "Well, you should have seen that coming," or "Why would you even do that?" Those offhand remarks sting because you expect empathy, not ridicule. The goal is not to help you learn, but to shrink you, to induce shame and self-blame until you question your own judgment. This tactic is strategic. By belittling you, they erode your confidence and isolate you emotionally. Once you begin to doubt yourself, you become easier to manipulate. You will look to the very person who hurt you for reassurance and validation. That is the trap. The Stoics teach that actions spring from reason and virtue, and those who wound others through mockery show a profound lack of both. Their cruelty is not accidental, it is calculated. They design situations to make you question your understanding of life, relationships, and even your sense of self. When insults and undermining remarks accumulate, they do more than bruise pride, they weaken your defenses. A mind riddled with self-doubt becomes fertile ground for further control. The malicious person knows this and exploits it. Criticism dressed as concern, sarcasm masked as tough love, flippant remarks framed as jokes. Over time, you start to ask, was I mistaken all along? Do I not see things clearly? That is exactly what they want. Resisting this tactic requires steadying your inner judgment. Recognize the pattern, derision that seeks to diminish, not to instruct. Separate critique aimed at growth from barbs meant to belittle. Keep your standards of truth and virtue as your guide, not the fluctuating measure of someone whose empathy is a facade. Do not allow their contempt to become your metric. Maintain clarity about your own values and evidence. Test their claims against facts, not feelings. When you notice someone systematically making you feel small, treat it as a red flag. Protect your mind by distancing yourself from those who weaponize shame. Reclaim your dignity by refusing to play into their script. Do not apologize for feeling. Do not bend to the suggestion that you are inadequate, and do not seek approval from those who extract power from your self-doubt. In doing so, you preserve your inner freedom, the very thing they aim to take. When toxic people try to make you feel small, their true goal is to keep you inside their circle of control, right where manipulation can continue. But from the Stoic perspective, the answer is clear. Control your reactions, not their words. Faced with insults or condescending remarks, the Stoic refuses to be pulled into the game. They remind themselves that true worth is not measured by another's opinion, but by inner understanding and self-respect. Why should a wise person allow their dignity to be diminished by the careless words of someone without kindness? Instead of reacting with anger or despair, a Stoic steps back, like a neutral observer, analyzing the situation with calm detachment. This composure itself becomes a weapon stronger than any retaliation. Malicious people may try to make you feel foolish, but their tactic only works if you accept it. Stoic teaching is simple. Focus on what you can control, and the one thing always under your control is your response. Toxic individuals want you emotional, shaken, unstable, but a disciplined mind refuses them that victory. At its core, their strategy is not just mockery, but theft, an attempt to strip you of confidence, to make you dependent on their approval. Dependency, however, robs you of autonomy and joy. That is why Stoicism insists that your value never rests on external voices, but on how you face life with clarity and courage. You cannot control what others do. You can always control how you think, how you act, and how you guard your inner strength. This is the shield that keeps you standing when others try to drag you down. Sign number 6. They act like they don't know what they are. Have you ever met someone who, when confronted with their wrongdoing, suddenly plays innocent, pretending they had no idea what harm they caused? This is one of the most cunning strategies of the wicked once their true nature is exposed. Rather than admit guilt, they put on a mask of confusion or victimhood. They act surprised, as if completely unaware of the damage left in their wake. Stoic philosophy reminds us that character is revealed not only through actions, but also through how one responds under pressure. Epictetus once taught, "People are not disturbed by things, but by the views they take of them." Manipulators exploit this very principle. They twist perception, reframing their own misdeeds as misunderstandings, turning the confrontation into a psychological game. When unmasked, such people often feign ignorance. They claim innocence not out of honesty, but to shift doubt back onto you. They may even respond with sarcasm. "Why didn't you say something earlier if you were hurt?" As though your silence were the real problem. This tactic is not genuine confusion. It is deliberate manipulation, designed to make you question your memory, your feelings, even your reality. By pretending they don't know what they are, they place the weight of blame onto you, leaving you tangled in guilt that was never yours to carry. Though it is clear they are the ones at fault, when confronted, these individuals twist everything until confusion sets in. They do not just deny responsibility, they attempt to erase the truth you courageously brought into the light. Even after you have expressed your feelings directly, perhaps many times, they respond with the same hollow question, "Why didn't you tell me?" This constant repetition is not ignorance, it is a deliberate strategy. It shifts the focus away from their wrongdoing and chips away at your confidence, making you feel as though you are overreacting, or worse, that the blame somehow rests on you. This is how toxic people try to control your emotions and thoughts. They want you to feel wrong, or at least uncertain about your right to hold them accountable. It is a highly sophisticated form of manipulation, one that distorts truth until guilt replaces clarity. In the end, you are left questioning yourself, not them. That is their goal, to rewrite the narrative so you become the one apologizing for being hurt. Stoic philosophy offers guidance in moments like these. It reminds us that the words and actions of others lie outside our control, but our response is always within reach. When you face people who deny or hide their mistakes, the crucial task is to stay calm. Do not let their dishonesty infiltrate your sense of worth. Their refusal to take responsibility reflects their fear of consequences, not a flaw in your character. Instead of admitting their actions, they play innocent, pretending they never knew harm was caused. When pressed, they distort and twist the truth until you doubt your own memory, your own feelings, your own reality. Such behavior is more than deceit. It is deep disrespect. It is a denial of truth and a devaluation of your humanity. They know that if they can make you doubt yourself, they can continue acting without fear of accountability. Here the Stoic lesson is invaluable. You do not need to reshape yourself to satisfy them, nor should you exhaust yourself trying to please them. Your task is to stand firm in your values, anchored in what you know is right. Do not let them pull you into the fog of doubt. Self-control and inner steadfastness are your shield. By holding fast to clarity, you preserve the freedom they seek to take. Sign number 7. They try to manipulate you. Manipulation is more than deception. It is control. When someone manipulates, they are attempting to direct your actions, bend your thoughts, and strip you of independent judgment. This tactic not only poisons your relationship with them, but seeps into other connections, clouding your mind and corroding your peace. What makes manipulation so dangerous is its subtlety. It rarely comes in blunt commands. Instead, it hides beneath a mask of care, kindness, or concern, cloaking intrusion in the guise of affection. Through carefully chosen words and emotional pressure, manipulators create invisible chains, binding you to their will, while convincing you it is your own choice. Manipulation works by placing you in a vulnerable position, stripping away not only your confidence but also your independence of thought and action. Manipulators are often highly skilled in emotional intelligence, a gift that, when misused, becomes a weapon. Instead of building healthy bonds, they exploit emotions, probing into hidden anxieties, insecurities, or even your deepest goals. Once they identify your weak points, they press into them, persuading you to sacrifice what truly matters, until little by little you become dependent on them. The danger lies in disguise. Manipulation rarely presents itself openly. It wears the mask of kindness. A manipulative person may appear deeply concerned, always ready to listen, quick to offer comfort. At first glance, it feels like genuine support. Yet if the intent behind these gestures is self-serving, then such help is nothing more than a sophisticated tactic. By making you feel indebted, they lead you to believe they are the only one you can trust, slowly drawing you into their control without your awareness. The Stoic response is to establish and protect boundaries. Boundaries are not just lines of defense. They are affirmations of your values, your independence, and your dignity. To know yourself, to know your limits, and to refuse intrusion is the way to resist manipulation. But manipulators are persistent. With their emotional insight, they will test your defenses, convincing you to compromise on something small, persuading you that depending on them is necessary for safety or happiness. Each small surrender is a step toward dependence. Stoic philosophy reminds us that true happiness never comes from external sources. It is born of inner strength, the control of one's own mind. To let yourself be manipulated is to hand over freedom, to grant another person power over your very life. A Stoic would never accept this. Living freely and independently is central to their way of being. A common tactic manipulators use is to convince you that you cannot handle problems on your own. They make themselves appear indispensable, whispering that only they understand you, only they can help. But the reality is the opposite. Once you fall into that trap, you lose decision-making power, you lose independence, and your confidence withers. They will not stop until you are fully caught in their game of control. Escaping is difficult, but it is never impossible. The key is self-affirmation. Reclaim your confidence, stand firm in your boundaries, and refuse to let them bend. Remember, you cannot control what others do, but you can always control your response. That is your true strength, a power no manipulator can take unless you freely give it away. And so we have explored the 7 common signs of the wicked, once they realize you have uncovered their true nature. The 7 behaviors of toxic individuals reveal how they act once their true nature has been exposed. By recognizing these signs, you gain the clarity to see past their masks and understand the hidden intentions behind their outward appearance. Awareness is the first shield. It allows you to step back, protect yourself, and avoid being swallowed by their negativity. Stoic philosophy reminds us that the true battlefield is not outside, but within. The key to overcoming any challenge lies in calmness, self-control, and patience. No matter how hard toxic people try to manipulate or unsettle you, they cannot touch your inner peace unless you give them permission. Real strength is the discipline to guard your mind, to refuse them the power to disturb your clarity. So remember, toxic people will always attempt to control, confuse, and manipulate, but the moment you recognize their tactics, you break their hold. Hold fast to your inner calm, and you remain untouchable. Before we close, I want to hear from you. How do you feel about the content of this video? 1. Strongly disagree. 2. Disagree. 3. Neutral. 4. Agree. 5. Strongly agree. If this video has been helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you won't miss the next ones. And before you go, be sure to check out our latest videos displayed here on the screen. There's more wisdom waiting for you.